Welcome to episode 18 of the Some Kind of Mystic podcast, where we bridge all things mystical with the exciting adventure of being human. I'm your host, Jesse Herman, and today we have an extraordinary guest whose journey and insights promise to leave you inspired and uplifted. Imagine a life where you're free of limitations and where you can achieve anything you set your mind to, where you are truly living your best life. This is the life that Ray Catania helps hundreds of people create. Ray is an acclaimed author, metaphysical teacher, theorist, and coach. His life changed dramatically after surviving a near-death experience, and since then, he has dedicated himself to helping others unlock their full potential. Ray's unique approach seamlessly blends scientific theories with his own profound life experiences, revealing how anyone can harness the power of the mind to create their own reality and be limitless. He has written 2 captivating books in his Awakening series, The Atheist and The Afterlife, and You Are Still Alive, Now Act Like It. Through these works, Ray shares his profound insights and intuitive abilities, making him a sought-after practitioner in scientific spiritualism and the practical applications of metaphysics. With a thriving private practice, Ray guides individuals on transformative journeys, helping them achieve the spiritual awakening they've been seeking. His work has had a profound impact on many lives, and I'm truly convinced that Ray will leave an indelible mark on all of our listeners today. So without further ado, let's dive into this mystical, limitless world of Ray Catania on Some Kind of Mystic. Welcome, Ray Catania, to the Some Kind of Mystic podcast. I am so thrilled to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Jesse. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
A wonderful opportunity to have you on the show. And you're actually our first near-death experiencer that's coming on the show. And I know that my audience has been asking me for a long time to cover people who have had that particular experience, because it really is so in alignment with the content of what we're producing here. And also it really does, in many cases, speak to the fact that a spiritual awakening is just a question of a moment in time. So I'm getting tingles. I'm so excited. And to start out, I want to hear your story, because you were an atheist before any of this happened.
Yeah. I was an atheist. I was an atheist because I was kind of rebelling against my parents. They were Christian, and the home life as a child wasn't really pleasant. I kind of went all the way to the other side and just really rebelled, if you will. And my near-death experience, I was 20, and I was still living in that house. And the way the house was situated, my room was above the kitchen. So I'm on the second floor, kitchen's on the first floor, obviously. And the stove had a gas leak, and the gas had been leaking all night long. We really don't know how long. And so I was breathing that in all night. And my mother had gotten up, I guess, to turn on the stove to cook, make breakfast, whatever, what have you. And there was a big ball of flames, the way I understand, and the wall caught fire. My mother was fine. The fire was put out pretty easily by my dad. But the fire trucks came, of course, the police came, and I'm hearing all this commotion downstairs. And so naturally, I want to get out of bed to see what's going on inside my house. I don't know anything yet. And when I go to get out of the bed, I find that parts of my body, I just simply cannot move, almost like they're paralyzed. They weigh so much. My legs, they weighed like 1,000 pounds. I couldn't get them to cooperate, So it was really hard to get out of the bed. I also noticed that I couldn't get my head off the pillow. It was just a very, very strange feeling. I knew something was very wrong, didn't really know what it was. So I tried to yell. That didn't work. So I started to pull myself to the edge of the bed using my arms. That did work. Thank goodness for that. And I was kind of like pulling, and I would get a couple inches, and then I would fall back down, like out. And then I would hear commotion. I wake up and I pull a couple more inches, and this went on and on and on. And by the 3rd or 4th time, I knew if I didn't get out, I was dead. I just knew at that point. I just felt like I was going to die. And so when I got to the edge of the bed and I took that one last pull, I tumbled out of it, and I landed on the floor face first, hit my chin first. And the strange thing about when I hit the floor, I knew I hit it. And you know how like you you hit something, you expect pain, right? That's the next thing that's going to happen is the pain is going to kick in, right? Well, that part didn't happen
Wow.
because as soon as I hit the floor, it was like I knew I hit it, no pain because I'm not in that body anymore. And that's when I'm above it and I'm looking down on my lifeless body. I was in the corner and picture the room is like kind of a perfect square. And I'm in the left upper corner and I'm looking down at my body, which is on the farther side floor, kind of in the middle of both. And you would think this would really scare me, but actually, it wasn't scary. It felt amazing. It felt euphoric. Actually, I've said my the day of my death was the best day of my life. It was incredible. And adjacent from me, my energetic self, not my human self, but my energetic self is this light. And this is shining on me, the real me, the energetic me. And I'm entwined with this light. Like it's like me and the light are one, and I'm a part of it, but yet I'm not a part of it, which is really hard to explain. But um, it's it makes you feel loved. It makes you feel no pain. Um, you feel free, euphoric. Best word I have for it. Um, and so there was a being at the end of the light, and I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was a who, um, but they said, Ray, you can come into the light. It's safe. It's safe to come into the light. And I was like, great, because I want to go into the light. It's like a tunnel, and I want to head in. And I started to do so. And the more I got into the light, the more the euphoria increased. And but what happened, I was about halfway there, and what happens is my father kicks in the door, because they heard the thump, right?
Mhm.
So he kicks in the door and he scoops me up in his arms and he's screaming and crying for the paramedics and just really, really distraught. And I was like, wow, like I didn't really have a good relationship with him and all these years. Um, and I guess when I saw that, it made me really want that. And so I asked the being if I could go back. And I don't know that that's the reason I was allowed to go back. I don't claim to know, but I did obviously. And I woke up. I was on the living room floor, flat on my back, paramedics on top of me, doing all kinds of things that paramedics do. And I'm like, guys, I feel great. What are you guys doing? Why are you touching me? Like I feel fantastic. And they're like, kid, you're not okay. You need to just lay there. Okay. Just don't move. And I'm like, no, did you see the light? Did you hear the voice? And then they're looking at each other like, okay, this kid's on drugs or he's crazy or something. Right. So I just shut up and, kept my mouth closed and let them do what they had to do. Um, I was only in the hospital for one day, came back the next day and, trying to make sense of that moment. um well, when I told my mother, she was like, that didn't happen. That's absolutely crazy. Don't tell anybody that. That's ridiculous.
Sure.
That didn't happen. She didn't even want to accept or acknowledge that I had died, which they resuscitated. um what do you call it? Resuscitated me. Is that how
Yeah.
you say it? Right in front of her. But she was in denial, I guess. And I understand that because if I would have lost one of my kids on my watch, I would have said that never happened too. Right. It wasn't until she was like 82 years old and the book came out, the first book, that we had a heart to heart. And said, actually, not only did you die one time, it was more like three.
Wow.
So um, after I came back and I was told I was crazy, you know, I'll go a little bit into my childhood and just say that there were always times when I felt connected to another world, another reality, and I could see and feel energy, and I didn't know why. I just thought everybody could do this. And when I told that to my parents, I was also crazy and I was damned and I was going to go to hell.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm always being told that I'm crazy. And so I'm going along with that because I'm remaining an atheist. Why not? I'm 20 years old. I don't need to deal with this. I have no computer or cell phone to look this up. There's no internet yet.
Okay.
It's not, I'm showing my age here, right? It's just, so I have nobody to go to and ask. Um, so I just chalk it up this way. I say, well, I probably fell in front of a window on a sunny day. There's the light. I probably inhaled so much gas that I was hallucinating, and that's the voice and everything else that happened. So I accepted that as fact and put it away. So it was something I simply didn't have to deal with. But in the back of my mind, I kind of know that dying doesn't suck.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't fear death. So now, I'm a kid who comes from a home of chaos, right? I'm self-sabotaging. I'm doing what I'm programmed to do, which is be angry and not give a crap about anything. And so living that type of lifestyle, I put myself in a lot of bad situations, hindsight, that I never should have been in. And I would even try to up the ante to see if how close I could get to dying again. And there were different times. There's a handful of experiences in each book where I talk about times that I really came close to death. And but the being that I saw, and when I say saw, I just mean like I kind of saw energy, but that being would be there for me in times of trouble, times of need, to guide me out of the situation that I was in.
Right.
um and I'll share with you one story where I'm in a nightclub. It's after hours, and I'm working for some shady characters. And there's a group on the one side, group on the other side. Everybody's pretending like they're having a good time. And I was just cleaning up, and somebody asked me for a drink, and I bent under the bar to get the drink, and then I hear pop, 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 and I know that they're shooting at each other, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
this is
gosh.
great. I got to get out of here, and I don't know how I'm going to get out because the second I stand up,
Mm.
they're going to see me. And the being comes and says, side door. And I can't even explain to you like how you, because you're not hearing it, you're feeling it.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very, actually, you understand that,
Yes, I
right?
do.
You totally get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, so I make a break for it and I go out the side door, and and then, but that's not it, because then I have to make a left, go all the way down this long corridor that's like 45 feet. I don't know that I'm going to make it. And I get to the next side door, which is a fire exit, and my car is right there. And what's unique about that is I never park there. I have my own parking spot. It's on the other side of the building. It's actually indoors. So why I chose to park outdoors on that night, I have no idea.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I can't explain it. And so it's kind of like I've had this bond with this energy being who's always been there in times of need. And that continues for quite a while. Every time I wind up in another terrible situation where something could happen, um, he or she tells me how to get out of it at the last minute. And
Wow.
I'm not deserving of this. I am not special. I am nothing, like I don't, I don't claim to know why. Um, but I had a lot of rough experiences in my life. Uh, when I was really young, one time I swam out too far in the ocean. The undertow kept pulling me back. I was about 10 years old, didn't know how to get out of it. Started to go down, started to go under. And the lifeguard was busy saving a bunch of kids on the other side. So nobody was paying attention to me. And I just kept going out and out and out. And the being said, calm down, swim sideways, take all the time you need. Calm down, swim sideways, take all the time you need. Now I couldn't calm down. I was panicking.
Hmm.
So he or she did that for me. I'm going to say he for lack of a better word, because I
Hmm.
don't have one. Um, so all of a sudden, this feeling of calmness just took over my
Sure.
entire body.
Yeah.
My heart was not racing or anything. And I started to swim sideways, and I was just like, who cares how long it takes me to get there? Doesn't matter. And instead of panicking and trying to get to shore, which I would have drowned for
Yeah.
sure, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have made it. I just kind of swam. I mean, it was enduring, it was hard, and I was 10, but I made it.
Yeah.
And I got to shore and I just collapsed. And then I remember a bunch of people were coming around me to make sure I was okay. And now I'm scared of the people because they're adults and I'm 10 and they're like touching me. And I'm like, stranger danger, you know? So I'm like trying to get away. I can barely walk. I can barely breathe. And I'm trying to, just kind of walk back to where the beach blanket was, where everybody else was in my family. And it seemed like that walk was forever. And but that walk taught me something really early in life, and that was I am the only person I can count on ever, and that remains to be true, um, even to present day. So um, I learned a lot from those experiences, and I learned a lot from that being. But I still continue to reject the idea that this was anything supernatural. And I
Hmm.
think that's because I don't have clarity, right? My background is putting me in a place of not seeing things properly, obviously, because who wants to put themselves in a place where they would die? Um, and I'm in a bad place. And so I remember that going back to the NDE, I was about 20. So maybe 2 years later, I move out of that house. I get an apartment, and it's my bachelor pad. It's the very first one. And I'm all excited. We're going to have parties all the time. This is going to be great. Well, it didn't go that way. When I moved into the apartment, I was excited. But from the day I moved in, it kind of felt like the party was already going on in there without me. Like I was the addition to the party because it felt like the room was filled. There
Right.
was just the energy. It would be like the same energy that you would feel if you went to a nightclub and you're trying to walk through people, but there's no one there.
Okay.
So
So would you
I'm
say it was sort of like
feeling
a
emotion.
haunting type of experience?
Well, I didn't know what to make of it yet.
Okay.
I don't I see I don't believe in haunting, and
Okay. Right.
I'm telling these things, I don't believe in you, you're not real, and then the lights would flicker, you know what I mean, like
Okay.
something like that would happen. And anything electric they can mess with, and
Hmm.
sure enough, televisions, phones, alarm system, they love to set the alarm off, right? And I would call the maintenance guy over and over and over, and he would come up and he's like checking everything, and he's like, listen to me very carefully, you're crazy. There's nothing wrong with this place. Don't ever call me again. You're crazy. And here I am crazy again. Right. So everybody I try to say anything about this to reiterates, you're crazy. You're crazy. Crazy. So I start to believe that to be true. But here's the problem now in that apartment, I can't sleep. So yeah, I mean, it's not a haunting. Like today, I know there's no hauntings, right? It's just that they know that I can see them. I
Hmm.
crossed over, I
Yes.
came back, and they're just trying to get whatever it is that they need, which is probably a message to a loved one, nothing
Hmm.
more. But I don't know how to shut it down. I don't know how to turn it off, and I don't even know what it is.
Do you know
And
how to turn it off now, or was
yeah,
it just okay?
yeah. Eventually, I was taught. Thank God. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I would.
Okay.
There's no way I would be here. I wouldn't have made it. Um, So I move out of that place, but I'm doing a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol in order to sleep.
Hmm.
Um, this is the only way I have to make myself pass out because it was just like I would vibrate at night. I would try to lay down and I would just vibrate. And, those vibrations are meaning someone or something is in the room. So um, and again, I don't think it was with malicious intent by any
Hmm.
means on their part. It was just, hi, I'm here. Can we talk? No, I'm trying to sleep.
Yes. Right.
First of all, they have no concept of time. They don't even
Nope.
have time. We made that stuff up, right? So What do you mean it's 4 o'clock in the morning? I don't know what that means. Just, I got to talk. So I'm like, this is crazy. I got to get out of here. I moved to another place thinking it's going to be different, and it's the same thing.
Oh gosh.
So it's not the place, it's me. Wherever I go, they're coming. More drugs, more alcohol, please. Um, so, and that became a dependency eventually over the next, maybe 7 years, 8 years. I don't know exactly how many, but that's the only way that I know how to like suppress it, how to turn my brain off so that, excuse me, so that they can't affect me. It's kind of like I'm shutting down the part of my brain that they can get to. Or maybe I just didn't care about it anymore. Who knows? I don't know. But and it wasn't until I got married the first time and had two kids that I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to have two boys, and I'd always talked about that, and I didn't want to be too old when I had them. So I was like 30 something, and I got married and I had two kids. And now I've got these two beautiful little humans that I'm responsible for. So now I have a reason for living. Now I can't play this game anymore. I can't go do my reckless behavior. I got to get sober. I check myself into rehab. I go back to college. I finish my degree after a million years and I get a good job. I do well. I get another good job. I do very well again. And they have a good life, I think, in my opinion, because I would always ask myself, what would my parents do? Okay, I'll do the opposite. And that's just, I think that went well. But so the marriage doesn't make it. The marriage, a couple of years and that was done. But I still had the kids, obviously, and everything I did for them, and I dedicated the second book to them because I said you guys have done more for me than I ever did for you, you know, um, and I wanted them to know that. So, um, sorry. It's my son's birthday coming up. I can't believe how old they are now. I'm just thinking about
How old are they?
so he's going to be 23.
Wow.
One is going to be 23 and one is going to be 22. They're a
Oh,
year apart.
wonderful.
They're good. They're good guys. Like I like them. I really
Great.
do. Sorry. Um, so anyway, after that part of my life, a long time goes by before I date seriously anyway, because I didn't want to bring a woman into their life. I thought that would disrupt them too much. And so I waited a long time before I dated again seriously. And when I decided to, I was in my 40s and I went online to meet somebody. And because that was kind of how we do it now, I guess. And when you go to these sites, they show you examples to try to entice you to get you to join their particular site. So they show you 4 women in your area or 3 or something like that, and hoping that you're going to take out your credit card. Well, when I did that, one of the sites I went to, the third woman down, I remember the photo. I still have the photo. I'll never forget it. I see her and I am just completely enamored and I feel like I know her. Like not just knowing, but like having been married to her. I'm like, that is my wife.
Okay.
And it was incredible. The feeling, the drive, the whole everything about it was just incredible. And so I joined the site and I send one email and that goes to her and her only. And I tell her that I'm like, I'm joining the site just to send this one email to you. And I actually copied it and pasted it and put it in a book, but I'll just really, really shorten it. It was like, hi, we don't know each other. My name's Ray. You're my wife. You just don't know it yet. And if we could, have dinner, I'd really love to explain this to you and blah, 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 blah. And she kind of, she's like, you're crazy. And I said, I know. So we did that did happen and we are married and we're still married and still together. And sure enough, she turns out to really be my soulmate. And I'll tell you why. When we first started dating, this is the first time an energy being, like I call them, presents themselves in human form because that has not happened yet.
Okay.
Um, and there's, I think it was maybe 2 months into the relationship or something like that. And it was getting close to my birthday. And the question that usually comes up when two people are getting serious, because she had two little ones, right? I have two older ones. And she's like, "So, what are your religious or spiritual beliefs?" And I was like, "Oh, shit. Oh, what are yours?" And I was like, I'll just go along with whatever she says, but she's too smart for that. So she kicks it back to me. And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I just don't know. I was an atheist, but then I'm not. I don't know what I am. Maybe I'm agnostic. I don't know. And I've been meaning to figure this out, but I haven't. So it's been on my list of things to do. And it really was, because I had so much confusion about it. Now I'm older and I can look back at the NDE and say, maybe that was something, because I heard of other NDEs by this time. Um, and so she says, "Well, I would like to buy you something for your birthday that's called the spiritual clearing." And I was like, "Okay, so what's that?" And she doesn't really explain it to me. And I was like, "So it's like a massage?" And she's like, "Not at all. Not at all." And I was like, "All right, whatever. I don't know what this thing is," but I'm like, "Okay, as long as we have cake, I'm good." So it's done distant. The woman calls me. It's in the morning. I'm at work, and she says she's about to begin. It was 10:30 a.m. And she says, "I'll be done in about 1 hour to 90 minutes tops. I'll call you back when it's finished to tell you what I see," and et cetera, et cetera. So the time goes by, and she calls me back, and she says, she goes through a whole list of things that she did. Um, and admittedly, I'm not giving her full attention because I don't believe in any of this, right? Yeah. And she says two things: don't make any appointments today that are important, and don't make any life changing choices for the next 2 to 3 days. And if you feel really weird, just call me back and I'll help you with that. And I
Okay.
was like, okay. Hung up the phone. And sure enough, I got up out of my office and I went to walk to the bathroom, and I felt like woozy. It was like I was like my equilibrium was off, and it was really weird. And it would do it, and then it would, and then it would, and then it would. And I just figured I was getting sick. I was getting a headache. I was like, let me just leave work. I'll go home. I'll feel better. It was a Friday. I don't have to be back till Monday. So if I'm getting sick, that's okay. So I get home, and here is what happens for the very first time. It's like a window, not a window, I would say a movie screen kind of opens up in my mind, and I get the vibrations, and I'm starting to feel like I'm in that apartment again, right? Because all that stuff that I kind of had at bay is starting to repeat itself. Sorry. So I'm having the vibrations, and that leads to the movie screen. The movie screen opens up, and it's in front of me, and there's a man on the screen, but he's talking to me,
Mm-hmm.
only me. And he says, "I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot." And just what just happened? I feel very strange. Then it goes away. A little while later, I'm thinking about this. It comes back. He says the same thing. "I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot." Okay. I've never seen the man before. I don't know what the message means. I don't know what I just saw. I'm getting a little freaked out. And I go to bed. Next day, it happens almost every hour on the hour. He's like tormenting me, and it's the same thing. And I'm seeing it's like an 8-second video loop that I just keep watching over and over and over and over. So now I really think I'm crazy. And by the next day, it felt like it was every 5 minutes. I would feel the chills up my back, and I'm like, "Oh no, not again. I know already. I know you effed up. I know. I don't believe in you. Go away. I'm an atheist." And it was just, it's so persistent
Yeah.
that it broke me. Finally, I couldn't function anymore. I couldn't drive. I couldn't have a conversation. I really couldn't do much of anything. And I was paying for my stuff at the counter. It was the final thing that happened. I don't know what I did, but the lady says, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "Absolutely not." She wasn't expecting that answer. And I took my card back and I went to my car and I started to make preparations for my own death. Like I started to prepare um, for I'm insane.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm still cognizant, I need to make sure my will's in order. I want to make sure I have a DNR. I'm going to the light. Don't ever resuscitate me again.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Was any
and
of this in like a state of sorrow, or it sounds to me like okay,
I
I
was
know I'm
broke.
crazy. Now I have complete clarity about that, but not really like there was not necessarily an emotional aspect to it.
Oh, there was.
You were
Oh, there
scared.
was. Well, yeah, scared is one, but
Mhm.
sad
Okay.
because I had everything that I did. Like I went to rehab. I went back to college. I busted
Mm,
my ass for my kids. I had kids, and I did everything right from doing
okay.
everything wrong. I did everything right, and now I'm right back where I started.
Okay. And the thing that like you don't want is still occurring.
It's still occurring, and
Okay.
it's back bigger and worse than ever because
Sure.
now I'm seeing people that aren't there.
Right, right.
And so I call my brother who holds all this paperwork and I make sure he's got everything. And he's like, "Why? What's the matter? What is something wrong? Are you sick?" I'm like, "No, I just want to make sure you have everything. I don't want to tell, I'm not telling anybody anything because I'm not going to be
Right,
called
yeah.
crazy anymore. Forget about that. But I do have to tell the woman that I love because she has a right to know so she can get on with her life." So I, I, I get my courage up and I tell her what happens. I get the vibrations, this happens, and this man keeps coming to me, keeps saying the same thing. And movie screen opens. He says, "I effed up and made a mistake. You can help her, I cannot." He's a big, husky guy. He's got a beard, mustache, thick black hair, um, kind of Italian looking, and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, tilts her head and smiles and says, "That sounds like my dad." And I said, "Babe, your dad is dead." She goes, "I know." And I said, "You're nuts. You're crazy." Right. So now I'm thinking she's the one that's crazy, not me. And I got to get out of there. But she said, "I've been to mediums before." What the hell's a medium?
Mm.
What do they do? And she's like, "Well, when the medium can bring forth spirit and my father comes through and and he comes across the way you're explaining, very, very powerful, almost right front and center. And he's made many a medium cry." Now, if the story's not crazy enough, my wife is a doctor of psychology and a doctor of neuropsychology. So this is not what I'm expecting from a doctor of psychology. I'm expecting her to write me a prescription, right?
Yeah.
Or send me to another doctor and say, "Don't ever call me again." Instead, she's completely open to this, understands it, and says, "Nah, you're not crazy. You're probably a medium. Let me take you to a medium." And I was like, "Well, why would I do that?" And she goes, "Well, you can tell her or him what happens, and you guys can kind of talk shop." And I'm like, "Okay, if she wants to stick by me while I'm crazy, awesome." Um, so I see the medium. And I'm sitting, I walk in the room and I said, "Hi, I'm Ray." And she said, "Oh, you're that Ray." She had heard something about this Ray that was coming, or she just knew, I don't know which. And then I sit down and she says, "Tell me what's happening." And I said, "Well, I see people sometimes and they're not there and they talk to me." And she goes, "Me too." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So you're crazy too." And I began to tell her everything that happens and how it happens. And I tell her about the vibrations, I tell her about the man, I tell her about the movie screen, and she goes, "Stop, stop, 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 stop." I was like, "What?" And she goes, "That's exactly the way I see it too." And she goes, "You don't even know how rare it is for a man to be able to do this." And
Hmm.
and she said, she told me about different abilities that I had too, because as I was explaining that story, I shared with her many stories of things that I could see. And she's like, "You are an anomaly." very unique, and and it's pretty cool, isn't it? And I said, no, 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 it's not cool. Can we turn it off? Can we make it go away? And she goes, yeah, but why don't you give it a chance first? And I said, well, how am I going to give it? I can't even function. I have a job. And she's like, relax. I'll take you through this, right? And so she became my teacher for the first year, and she saved my life. And what she
Mm.
shared with me was when she was a kid, everybody thought she was crazy, and her own parents put her away
Oh my God. That's
in a
horrible.
hospital for schizophrenia.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And she saved my life. That's why, only reason I'm here today. And when I met my second mentor, he told me, um, sometimes, if you are a medium and you don't get this help, you don't get a mentor, you can go crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing because those openings do potentially, if you don't learn how to use them, leave you extremely vulnerable to not maleficent energies, but energies that might be a bit insistent or take advantage or just
Right.
not lead you down the right route. And
Yeah.
I do believe that the majority of people with, what we would consider severe mental illness in terms of hallucinations, etc., are really just they've got that window wide open and don't know how to close the curtains.
Yeah. There's probably a high majority of them, a
Yeah,
high number that really are, or they started out that way, or they were that way, or they
yeah,
are that way, and they're
exactly.
just completely misdiagnosed.
Right, absolutely. And I think that, it does speak a lot to like what you did as a child and what many people I've spoken to have done as a child is that you get called crazy enough times and there's an aspect of you that wants to be a people like that people pleasing aspect of us actually saves us because it
Right.
teaches you how to turn it off in many ways and you go like, "Oh, I better not be crazy." So even that, you mentioned a couple times you kind of said like everyone's calling me crazy so I must be. Almost
Mhm.
the believing that you're crazy gives you that ability to kind of put up a wall to it and go like, okay, I don't see you in the corner of the room.
Right.
And if you
That's
don't see it in
exactly
the
right.
corner of the room enough time, you figure out how to block off that aspect. I mean,
Hmm.
that it's the same for me in terms of like dead people or spirits. I,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
interact with them because it's not the energy that I want to interact with. But I know exactly where the light switch is.
Right.
I could turn it on if need be. And sometimes something does get through, quite like, when someone has a request or someone that I've known in my own personal life has passed on and they have, something that they want me to do. Okay, the switch is there, but it's best if it's off.
Yeah, and for me too, because even though I went through all the training and everything else, I decided that that's not my path because it's very taxing
It is. Yeah.
on the medium, and I don't think that mediums get enough credit because it's hard work.
Mhm.
The spirit has to completely entangle with you, and therefore you're adopting all of their emotions, all of their feelings, and all this stuff that's coming through you, and it stays with you for a while.
It
And
does.
what
Yeah.
is it normally? It's regret, it's remorse, it's
Hmm.
guilt, it's
Yeah.
it's not,
It's heavy energies.
sometimes it's positive, but it doesn't start out that way. It starts
Right.
out in pain.
Yeah.
I'm
And there's
here to
that
tell somebody.
persistence too. Like you're talking about with your wife's father, there's this persistent nature to the
Yeah.
that aspect of not understanding time or location or duration. That's just that energy, that wave. It's almost like you're like when you were swimming, that undertow keeps coming to try and
Yeah.
get you. And you're
Right.
like,
That's it.
oh,
Yeah.
hold on. I need a second to pause and figure out which direction to go in. So yeah, I
It's
totally
a
get
good
that.
example. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I decided that I was not going to go this route.
Mhm.
And, you know, there's times I walk through the house and I know somebody's there and I'll just say, hey, what's up? But, even doing that, then they don't leave because,
Yeah. Right.
once you acknowledge them, it's on. Right. So I'm like, sometimes I can just say, go away and it's fine. But, for the most part, what I've chosen to do with my life is focus more on how people have a spiritual awakening,
Right.
getting to the next level of consciousness.
Beautiful.
And because when I did that, it opened up so many like light switches were going off. I learned about life, death, consciousness, the world. I see it in a different perspective, not the way I saw it before. And I'd rather help people do that for now. And that's not to say I'll never go back to
Hmm.
mediumship. But right now, at this moment in life, that's what I want to do.
So I'd love to take that direction because earlier, when you were talking about your near death experience, you talked about how the out of body aspect, or even, the aspect where you were non physical, felt more real than any reality you had experienced up until then. And so I know that, in the accompanying people to their own enlightenment, often there is that question about reality. What is reality? Is this a simulation? Is this a game we're playing? What's going on? So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
So, I'm not, first, let me preface this by saying I don't have all the answers.
Sure.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure this out like everybody else. But I do have a couple of little advantages. And I think the Buddha kind of explained it to his disciples pretty well. When he was on his deathbed, it was his seventh life, he said, and he won't be returning. And the reason he won't be returning is because he became enlightened on earth or in this realm. I don't think earth had anything to do with it. I think it's the realm. And I think that is the goal. I think that is the end game, becoming enlightened. And again, let me say I am not enlightened. I am trying to be enlightened, but I am not there yet. That is like an all-knowing state of the things that we know in the next life, right? When we cross over, but having that here.
Hmm.
So in a way, it might be like a game. I don't know if you could kind of look at it like that. You want to level up, but if you die and you're not enlightened, you have to come back, and your mind's going to be erased, and you're going to start from wherever your starting point is.
Okay.
And I believe karma transcends. So if you're a bad person and you're coming back, you're going back to a really bad reality. Never mind, just having messed up, childhood, you might be in another part of the world, a third world country where you have no food and water
Hmm.
as a child. So it could get really bad. And I know of no heaven or hell, and there's nothing to suggest there was anything like that. That's to scare the crap out of you. But I do know that karma transcends. It's coming with you, it's going with you, and it can determine your future, even if your future is your past,
So
if that
yeah,
makes
that's
any
what I was about to say. So you like in this, there in theory is the linearity of time, but there's also simultaneously that timelessness where this life is the past life and the future life of some other life. Is that what I'm getting
could
from
very
it?
well be. Yeah,
Okay, all
exactly.
right, all
Yeah,
right.
right.
Cool. That is
So,
so cool. And so in this particular life, with whatever rules we're playing with, what do you think that light was? That, because you experienced that in a sort of a temporal type of experience. At least your memory has like a time, right? What do you think that would be? Is in between lives, or is there like where are these spirits that you used to see or
well,
used to
I
interact with?
believe, I think that the one being that I still see to this
Mhm.
day, who's still with me, but not in human form. And this is again just an educated guess. I don't think he's in the fourth realm, which would be the next. If we're the third, that's what people call it, for lack of a better term. So we'll say this is three, and when you die, you're in the fourth realm,
Okay.
and that's when they can still appear to you in human form if they wish. They're not human. There's
Hmm.
nothing human about them, but they can still do that, and it's almost like a place of kind of waiting to come back, perhaps reincarnate. I don't know. But if you do become enlightened, I don't think the Buddha went there. I think the Buddha went right past there, went to the
Okay.
next level,
Okay.
maybe the fifth realm, where now you're a guy. You have no human form. You're not male or female. You're nothing but energy, and you know everything, and you're helping others and you're guiding others. Now, why would you guide somebody you don't know? I don't know. I,
Okay.
I don't. Maybe it is somebody I know. Maybe it is somebody I was related. I don't know.
Right.
But I think that there comes a time where you reach a level that you lose all humanness, and there is no coming back, and you don't want to come back,
Right.
because I didn't want to come back. I mean, it was just so amazing, and then when you come back, the the, the physicalness, the pain, that sets in after that euphoria wears off, oh my God, it's like a bomb goes off inside your body.
Sure.
Every little aches and pains that you have that you didn't feel when you were floating around,
Yeah, they're amplified.
they're amplified because the brain turns those off and doesn't acknowledge them after a long time. Right. You know, the thing that the knee that you twisted that never went back and healed 100%, you know, or
Hmm.
all those little minor injuries. It hurts. It really hurts. And nothing changed in my home life. So I was like, oh my God, please, can I get a do over? I need to go back to the light. Not human is pretty cool.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. And so you would say that even though you had the NDE at 20, it took quite a while before you got to the catalyst that pushed you over the edge of like accepting into your life this like, okay, fine, I'm not just physical. And you went through a lot of catalysts. You know, you had these experiences of like being in physical danger. You had these experiences of being haunted, if you want to call it that. You had these experiences of like just things being kind of messed up for a long time, even though you did want to, you know, repair things for your kids and be, you know, you got your act together. So it really was that that specific and insistent vision of your wife's father that kind of pushed you over the edge. So
And
from
her
then there,
acceptance.
did you like from that moment go, okay, you had this guide in the form of your medium friend
Mhm.
for the first year, and then you dove into it completely. You were like, that's it. I know that I'm a spiritual being and this is how I'm gonna like change course and direct my life, or what happened then?
So, with my first mentor, she was not teaching anybody anymore, but she had taken me on because we had so many similarities. And I think she felt bad for me, but it wasn't like that wasn't what she was doing. She was still practicing mediumship. And interestingly, she was actually helping certain like FBI find missing children and stuff like that, which I found fascinating. And if I was going to do that work, I wanted to go down that path. But when I met my second mentor, that is when I went full steam ahead because um, he came into my life completely. It was crazy. Again, it was my next birthday, and my wife says, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And here she is buying me something that is going to change my trajectory once again. And we went up into a cottage, and I just said, "I just want to be around trees, no people, just trees." And for some now I have this unbelievable connection with trees. I just I could do an hour on trees. Anyway, um, and so we went there and we meditated for the whole weekend. And she takes out an illustration, an actual drawing, pencil on paper, and she shows it to me. And I said, "That's your dad." And she goes, "I know." And I said, but no, 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 no. That's exactly the way I see him in the movie screen. That's the shirt. That's the way the hair is. That's everything. Even all the imperfections are perfect. You don't understand that. I said, "Who drew that?" She's like, "A medium." I was like, "Whoa, a medium, a spirit art. That's great. Where do I find this guy?" So we pulled him up on the computer, and right on the front page of his website, what it said, now taking applications for a 2-year mentorship program.
Wow.
The deadline, February 15th, my birthday.
Wow.
You're going to join? Yeah. Does the Pope shit in the woods? Yeah, I'm going to join. Are you kidding me? So I get the application, which leads to another huge application and then an interview and then another application. It's like this huge process to get in. It's thousands of dollars. And I didn't think I got in. So a lot of time went by and I just figured I wasn't good enough. And, what do I know? I'm a beginner. And I called his assistant, and she's like, "No, no, 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 no. There's hundreds of applications he has to go through, and he wants to make sure that everybody's legit before you come in for this program. There's other programs if you're a beginner that you can take, but that's not the mentorship." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So she's like, "Just relax. We'll let you know." And I said, "Okay." And now remember, hundreds of people at thousands of dollars. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Well, only 11 of us made it, and I was the 11th.
Okay. Wow.
Talk about integrity. He turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars. make sure that everybody in there had the abilities that they claimed that they had. That's not to say the others didn't. He just couldn't connect
For
on
sure.
that
Yeah.
with
It's a
them.
large program otherwise. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh my God, you're like, he became like the dad I didn't have because he taught me so much.
Brilliant.
And, integrity was always, a big thing. And I will say with my own father, integrity was always a big thing. Right. But my mentor's like, we're asking people to believe that we see people that aren't here. If you don't have integrity, you've got nothing.
That's right.
And I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Mm.
I'm never leaving you, dude. This is not a 2-year program for me. This is the rest of my life program.
Oh, wow.
And I'm still with him. Yeah. No, I am.
That's brilliant. I love that. And I love how, it really shines through you what you feel about this and all of that energy
I
as
love
you're
him.
speaking on it. Yeah. Beautiful. So, as the show is called Some Kind of Mystic, I always ask my guests, what does the word mystic mean to you?
Oh, great question. Um, hmm. I think that it's a person who is interested in learning the knowledge that there is something more, accepts the fact that there is, and wants to pursue the knowledge that's out there in any way, shape, or form they can acquire that. And I think that's what I kind of did. I went back to school for metaphysics. I got a master's in metaphysics. I'm going for my PhD, and I met with multiple mentors all around the world, and I've read every book I could possibly read. So I think it's a student. I think it's a student of life, death, and consciousness. That's what
That's
I think.
beautiful. And what kind of projects have you got going on now? What can people expect coming up from you and what have you been offering?
So right now, in addition to the two books, I have The Atheist and The Afterlife. This is the first book, and You're
Yeah.
Still Alive Now Act Like It is the second book, which is more about the spiritual awakening side. And the first one more about my life. And then I have a website where if you want to pursue this knowledge and learn more about how you can have a spiritual awakening and you can level up in consciousness, then I will teach you those steps. And I coach. And you can find me at raycatania.com. And I really appreciate you allowing me to say that. That means a lot to me. Thank
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I mean, the books are absolutely wonderful. I love the idea, atheist and moving from that because I think so many people do sit on that ledge. It is a brave step to go, you know what? Even though I don't know, which are
you. Yeah.
two different sentences, right? Like a lot of
Yeah.
people say, I don't know if God exists, which means it probably doesn't. And
Mm.
then there's the, what, like what? And I think that is kind of part of our experience as being human. It's like, what's going on really? And that's
Yeah.
really wonderful. So, and then the second one was, You're Not Dead. So what's the title of the second book?
You're Still Alive Now Act Like It.
Beautiful.
And that revolves around really, I mean, it revolves around the spiritual awakening, but the title is about just, tell everyone every day how you feel about them. Tell your kids you love them. I never let my kids leave the room or my wife leave the room without saying I love you. That's because just in case it's my last breath, I want to know that that's what I said. I don't want to be on the other side trying to come through with regret.
Sure.
I want them to know I love them.
That is so beautiful. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, Ray, I have loved this interview. I will ask you to come back at some point to talk about trees because that's also a fascinating topic. And I know that there's like also a lot of scientific study on the relationship with trees and the spirituality of
Yeah,
our
they're
nature, which is amazing. So, if that is something you're
amazing.
interested in, let's definitely do that and set that up at some
I'm
point.
in.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for taking your time to speak with us today.
Thank you. It's been my honor.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Some Kind of Mystic podcast. If you're hearing this message, you've listened all the way to the end of this episode, and for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's people just like you that keep me motivated to bring you more and more enlightened content to the world. If you have any questions about the things we covered in the show or would like to follow my projects, please find me on www.jpherman.com. I answer all my messages, so don't hesitate to reach out. You can also find me on Instagram, and the details are in the show notes.
let me tell you something. When people cross over, they're not nice people just because they crossed over. If they were an asshole, they're still an asshole. It does not change. You
I
know,
agree with you.
like
This
people
is
think all of a sudden, well, you get to talk to dead people. Dead people are assholes.
they're just as bad as alive people.
Yeah, they're no different.
I love that. I love that.